You can hear all my audiobooks, including those not shared on YouTube, by following the links below at Gumroad and Patreon. Thank you for your support. The Governance of China, Volume 4 by Xi Jinping. Part 18, A Global Community of Shared Future. Work together to protect the lives and health of all. Part of the speech at the opening ceremony of the virtual 73rd World Health Assembly, May 18, 2020. The history of human civilization is one of fighting disease and disaster. Viruses are no respecters of border, race, or nationality. Confronted by the ravages of COVID-19, the international community has not flinched, and the people of all countries have risen to the challenge. Around the world, people have pulled together as one, helping each other as best we can. With love and compassion, we have forged extraordinary synergy in the battle against COVID-19. In China, after painstaking efforts and enormous sacrifice, we have turned the tide of the battle and succeeded in protecting the lives and health of our people. All along, we have acted with openness, transparency, and responsibility. We have provided information to the World Health Organization, WHO, and other affected countries in a most timely fashion. We have released the genome sequence at the earliest possible time. We have shared our experience of control and treatment with the rest of the world without reservation. We have done everything in our power to support and assist countries in need. Even as we meet, the virus is still raging, and more must be done to bring it under control. To this end, I want to make the following proposals. First, we must do everything we can to prevent and contain the spread of the virus. This is a most urgent task. We must always put the people first, for nothing in the world is more precious than people's lives. We need to deploy medical expertise and critical supplies in places where they are most needed. We need to take strong measures in key areas, such as prevention, quarantine, detection, treatment, and tracing. We need to move as fast as we can to curb the global spread of the virus and do our best to stem cross-border transmission. We need to step up information sharing, learn from each other's experience and best practices, and pursue international cooperation on testing methods, clinical treatment, and research and development of vaccines and medicines. We also need to continue supporting global research by scientists on the source and transmission routes of the virus. Second, the WHO should lead the global response under the leadership of Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. The WHO has made a major contribution in leading and advancing the global response to COVID-19. Its good work has been applauded by the international community. At this crucial juncture, to support the WHO is to support international cooperation and the battle for saving lives. China calls on the international community to increase political and financial support for the WHO so as to mobilize resources worldwide to defeat the virus. Third, we must provide greater support for Africa. Developing countries, those in Africa in particular, have weaker public health systems. Helping them to build capacity must be a top priority in our COVID-19 response. The world needs to provide more material, technological, and manpower support for African countries. China has sent tremendous quantities of medical supplies and offered assistance to over 50 African countries and the African Union. 5 teams of Chinese health and medical experts have been sent to the African continent in support of its COVID-19 response. For the past 7 decades, a total of over 200 million people in Africa have received care and treatment from Chinese medical teams. At present, 46 resident Chinese medical teams are in Africa, helping with local COVID-19 containment efforts. Fourth, We must strengthen global public health governance. Humanity will eventually prevail over the coronavirus. Yet this will not be the last time we are confronted by a major public health emergency. In view of the weaknesses and deficiencies exposed by COVID-19, we need to improve the system of governance for public health security. We need to respond more quickly to public health emergencies and establish global and regional centers of anti-epidemic reserves. China supports the idea of conducting a comprehensive review of the global response to COVID-19 once it has been brought under control, to take stock of experience and lessons learned and address deficiencies. This should be based on science and professionalism, led by the WHO, and conducted in an objective and impartial manner. Fifth, we must restore economic and social development. While working on an ongoing basis to contain the virus, countries may reopen businesses and schools where conditions permit in an orderly fashion and in accordance with the WHO's professional recommendations. In the meantime, coordination of international macroeconomic policy should be stepped up, and global industrial and supply chains should be kept open and stable if we are to restore growth to the world economy. Sixth, we must strengthen international cooperation. Humanity shares a common future. Solidarity and cooperation are our most powerful weapons to defeat the virus. This is a key lesson the world has learned from fighting HIV/AIDS, Ebola, avian influenza, influenza A, H1N1, and other major epidemics, and solidarity and cooperation offer a sure method through which we, the people of the world, can defeat this novel coronavirus. China stands for the vision of building a global community of shared future. China considers it has a responsibility to ensure the lives and health of its own citizens, and also to safeguard global public health. In order to boost international cooperation against COVID-19, I hereby announce the following. China will provide U.S. $2 billion over 2 years to help with the COVID-19 response and with economic and social development in affected countries, especially developing countries. China will work with the UN to set up a global humanitarian response depot and hub in China to ensure the operation of anti-epidemic supply chains and to foster green corridors for fast-track transport and customs clearance. China will establish a cooperation mechanism for its hospitals to pair up with 30 African hospitals. We will accelerate the building of the Africa CDC headquarters and help the continent ramp up its capacity for disease prevention and control. COVID-19 vaccines, once they have been developed and applied in China, will be made available as a global public good. This will be China's contribution to ensuring access to affordable vaccines in developing countries. China will work with other G20 members to implement the debt service suspension initiative for the poorest countries. China is also ready to work with the international community to boost support for the worst affected countries that are struggling the hardest to service their debt and help them emerge from their current difficulties. To conclude, I call on all of us to come together and work as one. Let us make a concerted effort to protect the lives and health of all people in all countries. Let us work together to safeguard planet Earth, our common home. Let us work together to build a global community of health for all. Boost China-Arab cooperation and move forward together. Main part of the congratulatory letter to the 9th Ministerial Conference of the China-Arab States Cooperation Forum, July 6, 2020. At the 8th Ministerial Conference of the China-Arab States Cooperation Forum, CASCF, held in 2018, I announced the establishment of the China-Arab Strategic Partnership and proposed building a China-Arab community of shared future as part of our endeavors to build a global community of shared future. This initiative has been warmly received by the Arab countries. Over the past 2 years, our two sides have strengthened coordination on strategic affairs and concrete actions, consolidated mutual political trust, delivered solid outcomes in Belt and Road cooperation, and increased and enriched our people-to-people exchanges. Working together, we have raised to a new level the China-Arab future-oriented strategic partnership of comprehensive cooperation and common development. In the battle against COVID-19, China and the Arab countries have stood firmly together and increased mutual support and cooperation. This vividly demonstrates the close bond that binds us. Now, more than ever, we need to increase cooperation to navigate this trying time and move forward together. Both sides should take the opportunity presented by this conference to reinforce consultation on our strategies in various fields and to boost cooperation on our response to COVID-19. Let us work together to build an ever stronger China-Arab community of shared future and deliver greater benefits to our peoples. Work together for Asia-Pacific prosperity, part of the speech at the 27th APEC Economic Leaders Meeting, November 20th, 2020. Both the world and the Asia-Pacific are experiencing profound change, a process accelerated by COVID-19. The world economy is in a downturn. Economic globalization is encountering headwinds. Unilateralism and protectionism are on the rise. Balancing equity and efficiency, growth and distribution, and technological development and employment is becoming more difficult. The wealth gap remains widespread. The global governance system faces new challenges. For the first time in decades, the Asia-Pacific as a whole has registered negative economic growth. Protecting people's health and reviving the economy are two formidable challenges we face. Which way should Asia-Pacific cooperation be heading? The answer will have a profound impact on the development of our region, the well-being of our people, and the future of the world. One priority on this year's agenda of Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, APEC, is to unveil the post-2020 vision, a pathway towards our goal of building an Asia-Pacific community. This should be pursued as a new starting point for us to begin another phase in Asia-Pacific cooperation, to sustain the strong momentum of development in our region, and to embrace a future of shared prosperity. Together, we can build an Asia-Pacific community of shared future, one of openness, inclusiveness, innovation-driven growth, greater connectivity, and mutually beneficial cooperation. First, we need to stay open and inclusive. The global economy is like the nearby Pacific Ocean. It admits water from various rivers and connects different parts of the world. This gives it an immense capacity and enormous vitality. We should pursue cooperation on the basis of equality and dissolve differences with mutual respect, because this is essential to delivering economic development and prosperity in our region. Over the years, APEC has remained committed to regional economic integration and made significant gains in implementing the Bogor goals. It has also played an important role in steering the development of the multilateral trading system. However, free and open trade and investment are not something that can be achieved overnight. It is important that the Asia-Pacific nations continue to take the lead in safeguarding peace and stability, upholding multilateralism, and fostering an open world economy. We must stay as determined as ever in our support to the multilateral trading system, with the World Trade Organization at its core, promote free and open trade and investment, and steer economic globalization in such a way that will make the global economy more open, inclusive, balanced, and beneficial to all. Continued efforts are needed to step up regional economic integration towards the early realization of a free trade area of the Asia-Pacific. China welcomes the signing of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership and will favorably consider joining the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. As we continue to promote free and open trade, we should pay no less attention to economic and technical cooperation. We need to further implement the APEC strategy for strengthening quality growth and the action agenda on advancing economic, financial, and social inclusion, and address the concerns of developing members. In particular, we need to respond to the special needs of women and other groups and support micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs. Such efforts will contribute to inclusive and sustainable growth. China will host a seminar on advancing economic inclusion through trade and investment, where we can expect to hear proposals on how trade and investment policies can deliver great benefits to all the people. China looks forward to working with all parties to follow up on proposals to be made at the seminar. Second, we need to pursue innovation-driven growth. The digital economy represents the future of global development, and innovation will drive the economic takeoff of the Asia-Pacific. We need to seize the opportunities of our times and make full use of our region's abundant human resources, solid technological foundations, and enormous market potential to gain a new competitive edge and open up new possibilities for bettering our people's lives. The APEC Internet and Digital Economy Roadmap should be implemented in full to encourage the dissemination and application of new technologies, strengthen digital infrastructure, and close the digital divide. We need to improve economic governance and foster an open, fair, equitable, and non-discriminatory environment for businesses. This year, China has conducted an APEC case study on smart cities, which we hope will contribute to the formulation of guidelines on smart cities and offer an example for pursuing innovative urban development across the region. China calls for sharing practices among APEC members on how to respond to COVID-19 and achieve economic recovery with digital technologies. China also calls for improving the digital business environment to energize market entities and tap the potential of the digital market. These efforts will add new impetus to economic recovery in our region. Next year, China will host a workshop on digital technology-enabled poverty alleviation to leverage the role of digital technologies in eradicating poverty in our region. Third, we need to strengthen connectivity. Connectivity is vital for both regional economic integration and interconnected global development. The pandemic confronting us further highlights the importance of connectivity. We need to continue to implement the APEC Connectivity Blueprint to facilitate a smooth, safe, and orderly flow of people, goods, capital, and data, and to achieve a seamlessly connected Asia-Pacific. China has opened fast tracks with other APEC members, including Indonesia, the Republic of Korea, and Singapore, to facilitate the movement of people during the pandemic, and we will do more to build a network of facilitation agreements. To this end, it is important to promote the mutual recognition of COVID-related health information for international travelers. China is ready to take active and well-considered steps with all other parties to set up green lanes for goods, make customs clearance more efficient, remove bottlenecks, and reconnect disrupted lines. We are ready to promote the creation of international cooperation platforms on industrial and supply chains to ensure their safe and smooth operation in our region and beyond. We need to integrate development plans and connectivity initiatives of different parties to create greater synergy. On its part, China will work with all partners to pursue high-quality Belt and Road cooperation. We believe this will provide a larger platform for increasing connectivity in the Asia-Pacific and inject stronger momentum into the economy of our region and the wider world. Fourth, we need to promote mutually beneficial cooperation. We APEC members are highly complementary in terms of development, and our interests are deeply intertwined. Economic cooperation among us has never been a zero-sum political game in which one gains at the expense of others. Rather, our cooperation has provided us with a development platform that delivers gains to us all. As a Malaysian saying goes, we should climb the hill and cross the ravine together. This aptly captures what defines us as an Asia-Pacific family. COVID-19 also reminds us that only with solidarity and cooperation can we meet challenges. We need to forge stronger Asia-Pacific partnerships based on mutual trust, inclusiveness, and mutually beneficial cooperation, and act on the principles of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits. We need to upgrade and expand regional cooperation to deliver prosperity for the whole region. It is important that we advance results-oriented cooperation on the basis of consensus, properly manage differences and disagreements, and steer Asia-Pacific cooperation in the right direction to ensure APEC's sound long-term development. Beating COVID-19 is the most pressing task facing us all. We must step up research and development of vaccines and exchanges, work harder to make vaccines a global public good, and improve their accessibility and affordability in developing countries. With this in mind, China has joined the COVID-19 Vaccines Global Access COVAX facility. We support APEC in strengthening policy exchanges and capacity building in the areas of public health and MSMEs. China has proposed a telemedicine initiative to give people in poor and remote areas access to timely and quality medical services. We hope these efforts will contribute to anti-pandemic cooperation and economic recovery. China values the role of APEC. We will continue to support the organization, and with our roots struck deep in the Asia-Pacific, we will continue to serve its development and prosperity. Strengthen cooperation among world political parties to benefit the people. Keynote speech at the CPC and World Political Parties Summit, July 6, 2021. Your Excellencies, leaders of political parties, ladies and gentlemen, friends. Today, as the CPC reaches its 100th anniversary, it gives me great pleasure to join you, the leaders of more than 500 political parties and organizations from over 160 countries, as well as the 10,000 and more representatives assembled at this cloud event, to discuss the important question of the responsibility of political parties in working for the benefit of the people. In recent weeks, over 600 political parties and organizations from over 170 countries have sent more than 1,500 congratulatory messages and letters conveying their goodwill and best wishes to the CPC. I wish to take this opportunity to express to all of you on behalf of the Communist Party of China our heartfelt thanks. A few days ago, we celebrated our party's centenary with a grand gathering. Over the past 100 years, the CPC has united the Chinese people and led them in working towards the tremendous transformation of the Chinese nation. From standing up and becoming better off to growing in strength. Over the past 100 years, the CPC has always believed that the Chinese people and other peoples of the world have a shared future. Respecting international trends and flowing with international currents, it has steered the course of China's development and supported the development and prosperity of all countries. The historic achievements of the CPC and the Chinese people would not have been possible without the generous support of others. Here, on my behalf of the CPC and the Chinese people, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to peoples, political parties, and friends from all countries who have given their attention, support, and assistance to the CPC and the revolution, construction, and reform in China. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, the world today is undergoing change on a scale unseen in a century. Although countries are increasingly interconnected and interdependent, support for multipolarity and economic globalization is volatile. The international community has made strenuous efforts to deal with COVID-19, revive the global economy, and safeguard world stability. Political parties in many countries have exhibited a strong sense of responsibility by actively exploring ways to address existing problems. At the same time, wars and conflicts are still raging in some places. Famine and disease are affecting many people. Estrangement increases and confrontations arise. The call for a better life from all peoples, whatever their country, is becoming ever louder and clearer. Today, human society has once again found itself at a historic crossroads. Will we choose hostile confrontation or mutual respect? Will we choose isolation and decoupling or openness and cooperation? Will we choose zero-sum game or win-win results? The choice is in our hands, and the responsibility falls on our shoulders. The human race is one single global community, and the planet Earth, its homeland, No person or country can remain cloistered from the common challenges we face. The only solution is to work together in harmony. As an important force behind human progress, political parties need to set the right course. They need to assume their historic responsibility to work for the benefit of the people. I believe that political parties need to work even harder on the following. First, we need to lead the way in seizing and shaping the shared future of humanity. People aspire to affluence and contentment. They yearn for fairness and justice. Great times call for a grand strategy, and a grand strategy calls for great vision. Viewed from the perspective of my own country first, the world is a cramped and crowded place mired in fierce competition. Viewed from the perspective of a common destiny, the world is a vast and broad place full of cooperation opportunities. We need to heed the voices of the people, follow the trends of the times, and strengthen coordination and cooperation. In doing so, we can keep the interests of every people in line with all others and work together to realize the global community of shared future. Second, we need to build consensus by upholding and promoting the common values of humanity. Despite the differences between countries in history, culture, social system, and level of development, their peoples do subscribe to the common values of peace, development, equality, justice, democracy, and freedom. With a strong sense of our responsibility for the future of all humanity, we need to champion common human values, foster broad-minded understanding of the values of other civilizations, and respect the choice of every nation for its pathway to realizing its values. In this way, the common values of humanity will be translated into concrete, pragmatic actions by individual countries that serve the interests of their own peoples. Third, we need to promote development by delivering greater benefits to all in a fairer manner. Development holds the key to the well-being of all humankind, and no country or nation should be left behind on this road. All countries and nations have an equal right to access and realize development opportunities. We need to face up squarely to major problems, such as the wealth gap and the development divide, giving particular care and attention to underdeveloped countries and regions and impoverished people so that hope prevails in every corner of the world. As a Ming Dynasty scholar said, those who seek comfort only for themselves will ultimately be denounced, while those who sacrifice their own interests for the success of others will be hailed. Footnote: Feng Xiaoru. Thoughts on items in daily life. Feng Xiaoru, 1357 to 1402, was an Orthodox Confucian scholar of the Ming Dynasty. End of footnote. Development is the right of all, not an exclusive privilege of the few. We need to enable all countries to step up cooperation and share the fruits of development. We need to bring greater equity, higher efficiency, and stronger synergy to global development, and jointly oppose technology blockades, widening gaps, and decoupling. I believe that in the final analysis, any political manipulation designed to hinder the development of other countries and undermine the livelihood of other peoples will win little support and prove futile. Fourth, we need to strengthen cooperation by working together to address global risks and challenges. In the face of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, we need to continue with a science-based response and advocate solidarity and cooperation so as to close the immunization gap. We must oppose any attempt to politicize the pandemic or assign the virus with geographical labels. We need to work together to build a global community of health for all. In the face of terrorism and other common enemies of humankind, we need to pursue security and stability through cooperation so as to tighten our defenses together. In defense of a fragile eco-environment, we need to respect and protect Mother Nature and follow her laws so as to build a green homeland together. Confronted by the severe challenges to human existence and development posed by climate change, we need to be bold in our responses and work as one to find the way to harmonious coexistence with nature. Fifth, we need to improve governance by strengthening our capacity to ensure the people's well-being. There are different ways to a good life. Every country and its people should be entitled to choose their own development path and governance model. This in itself is what a good life means. In the same vein, democracy is the right of all peoples, rather than an exclusive privilege of the few. There is no single model of democracy. There are multiple ways and means by which it can be realized. A country's democratic credentials should be judged by its own people, not by a small number of outsiders. To advance democracy in a way that is adapted to the national conditions of a country, we need to strengthen exchanges and mutual learning, improve mechanisms for communication, be fully aware of public opinion, create and consolidate sound institutions, and strengthen our capacity in governance. This will make us more effective in improving the people's well-being. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, working for the people's well-being was the original aspiration of the CPC and has always been a cherished aim. Having achieved the goal of all-round moderate prosperity, China has embarked on a new journey towards building a modern socialist country. The Chinese people overflow with an increasing sense of gain, fulfillment, and security. The unswerving objectives of the CPC are to run our own country well, ensure a happy life for more than 1.4 billion Chinese people, and advance the lofty cause of promoting peace and development for all humankind. The CPC will continue to uphold the philosophy of people-centered development, reflect upon the overarching issues of national rejuvenation and human progress in the greater context of time and space, and lead all the people of China in creating an even better tomorrow through perseverance and an enterprising spirit. As history has taught us, we can only embrace the future when we embrace the world, and we can only travel safe and far when we walk together. The CPC stands ready to work with political parties throughout the world to turn our dreams into reality. Let us always be builders of world peace, advocates for global development, and guardians of the international order. The CPC will unite and lead the Chinese people to advance China's modernization while contributing to human progress. Proceeding from reality in all it does, the CPC has led the Chinese people to the path of socialism with Chinese characteristics. History and our experience have proved and will continue to prove that this is the path that works and the path that pays off. We will continue to follow this path to ensure that development is pursued both for our own good and for the benefit of the world. There is no fixed model for the path to modernization, and the one that suits you well will serve you well. Cutting your foot to fit a shoe will not work. Every effort by any country to find its own path to modernization is worthy of respect. The CPC is willing to share its experience with political parties of all countries and work together with them to broaden paths to modernization so as to ensure the well-being of their own and other peoples. The CPC will unite the Chinese people and lead them in deeper reform and opening up to share its development and prosperity with all countries. Despite considerable headwinds, economic globalization is making good headway. On the whole, the headway is prevailing over the headwinds. The trend towards opening up and cooperation in all countries is and will remain unchanged. The CPC is ready to boost communication with world political parties in steering economic globalization towards greater openness, inclusiveness, balance, and win-win results. We stand ready to work with the international community to increase global connectivity and high-quality Belt and Road cooperation so that more countries and peoples can share the fruits of development. The CPC will shoulder its responsibilities as a major political party in a major country to improve human well-being. The eradication of poverty has long been a common aspiration of all peoples in all countries and an important objective that all political parties strive to achieve. Since the 18th National Congress of the CPC in 2012, all of China's 99 million rural residents living below the current poverty line have been lifted out of extreme poverty, enabling us to meet the poverty reduction target set out in the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development 10 years ahead of schedule. The CPC is willing to contribute more Chinese solutions and Chinese strength to the poverty reduction process worldwide. China will spare no effort to support international cooperation against COVID-19 and to increase the accessibility and affordability of vaccines in developing countries. China will deliver on its promises to achieve peak carbon dioxide emissions and carbon neutrality and contribute more to the global fight against climate change. China will host the 15th meeting of the Conference of the Parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity, where parties will discuss new strategies and embark on a new journey of global biodiversity governance. The CPC will actively improve global governance to support humanity's joint response to common challenges. Multilateralism is at the core of the current international system and order. The better it is practiced, the faster humanity's common problems will be resolved. International rules should be based on universally recognized norms rather than the rules of the few. Countries should cooperate to serve all of humanity instead of seeking hegemony by way of bloc politics. We should stand in opposition to the practice of unilateralism disguised as multilateralism and say no to hegemony and power politics. Upholding the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, China is one of the view that matters concerning all should be handled through joint consultation so that the international order and system will be fairer and more equitable. I wish to reiterate that China will always be part of the developing world and is committed to strengthening its representation and voice in the global governance system. China will never seek hegemony, expansion, or spheres of influence. The CPC will work with political parties of all countries to promote state-to-state coordination and cooperation through party-to-party consultation and promote their role in global governance. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, our journey will be long and arduous, but as long as we persevere on the road ahead, there will be much to anticipate. Our road will never be straight or smooth, but hopes abound. The CPC stands ready to continue to work with political parties and organizations of all countries to support the right side of history and the progressive cause of humanity. Let us make an even greater contribution to building a global community of shared future and a better world. Thank you. Build a stronger Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Part of the speech at the 21st meeting of the Council of Heads of State of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. September 17th, 2021. The past 20 years have seen an evolving international environment and a profound reshaping of the global governance system. These years have also witnessed the vigorous growth of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO, and fruitful, mutually beneficial cooperation among its member states. Over the past 2 decades, the SCO has been guided by the Shanghai spirit of mutual trust, mutual benefit, equality, consultation, respect for diversity of civilization, and pursuit of common development. It has endeavored to promote world peace, development, and human progress, and it has explored new ground, both in theory and in practice, to build a new model of international relations and a global community of shared future. We have promoted mutual political trust. We have signed the Treaty on Long-Term Good Neighborliness, Friendship, and Cooperation, and created a new model based on partnership and dialogue rather than alliance or confrontation. We have supported each other on issues which involve our respective core interests and are of major concern to us, and we have provided reliable and strong support to each other in our pursuit of development. We have ensured security and stability. We were the first to issue a call to arms against terrorism, separatism, and extremism. We have taken tough actions to curb the spread of drug trafficking, cybercrime, and transnational organized crime, and held joint counterterrorism exercises and border control operations. We call for political settlement of international and regional flashpoints. Thus, we have erected a powerful defense to uphold peace and tranquility in our region. We have jointly pursued prosperity and development. We have intensified cooperation in our region. People-to-people programs such as art festivals, the SCO University, and the SCO Forum on Traditional Medicine have been launched. with SCO speed and SCO efficiency, as evidenced by the 12% annual growth of the total GDP and foreign trade of SCO member states, and a manifold increase in the number of mutual visits. We have moved faster to deliver a decent life for people in SCO countries. We have upheld international justice. We have advocated multilateralism and the common values of humanity, and spoken out against hegemony and power politics. We have maintained close coordination with SCO observer states and dialogue partners, as well as international and regional organizations which share the SCO's purposes and principles. And we have worked with other members of the international community in a quest of a shared future. The SCO has now reached a new historic starting point. We should stay committed to the Shanghai spirit, keep to the right direction, promote democracy in international relations, and pursue our own development as part of our efforts to promote common development for humanity. Together, we can build a closer SCO community of shared future and contribute even more to durable global peace and common prosperity. To this end, it is imperative that we do the following. First, we need to strengthen solidarity and cooperation. To keep the SCO on a steady course of development, we should make the most of the meeting mechanisms and platforms at various levels and step up policy dialogue, consultation, and coordination. And we should respect each other's legitimate concerns and promptly resolve issues that may arise and affect our cooperation. We should maintain firm confidence in our systems, reject condescending lectures, and firmly support countries in exploring the development paths and governance models that are compatible with their national conditions. We should support each other in steadily advancing important political agendas such as domestic elections. We must never allow any external interference in the domestic affairs of countries in our region under whatever pretext. In short, we should keep our country's development and future firmly in our own hands. Fighting COVID-19 remains the most pressing task facing us all. We should follow the principle of putting people and their lives first and respect science. We need to expand international cooperation against the virus, promote fair and equitable distribution of vaccines, and firmly oppose any attempt to politicize COVID-19 origin tracing. To protect the lives and health of people across the world, China has provided close to 1.2 billion doses of finished and bulk vaccines to over 100 countries and international organizations, which means it is the biggest vaccine provider in the world. China will provide a total of 2 billion doses to other countries in the course of this year. We will expand anti-COVID-19 cooperation with other developing countries and make good use of China's U.S. $100 million donation to COVAX. Together, we, humanity, will ultimately beat the virus. Second, we need to uphold our common security. Faced with complex and fluid security dynamics in the region, we need to pursue common, comprehensive, cooperative, and sustainable security and to take tough actions against terrorism, separatism, and extremism, including the East Turkestan Islamic movement. We need to strengthen cooperation in counter-narcotics, border control, and security for major events, and speedily improve the SCO's security cooperation mechanism. We need to fully implement the Convention on Countering Extremism and other legal instruments and boost the capacity of competent SCO government authorities to maintain stability and respond to emergencies. Afghanistan has experienced a period of dramatic change. With the withdrawal of foreign troops, a new page has been opened in its history, but Afghanistan still faces many daunting challenges, and it needs the support and assistance of the international community, particularly countries in our region. We SCO member states need to step up coordination, make full use of platforms such as the SCO Afghanistan Contact Group, and facilitate a smooth transition in Afghanistan. We need to encourage Afghanistan to put in place a broad-based and inclusive political framework, adopt prudent and moderate domestic and foreign policies, resolutely fight terrorism in all its forms, live in amity with its neighbors, and to truly embark on a path of peace, stability, and development. Third, we need to promote openness and integration. We SCO countries are all at a critical stage of development. Being close to each other and sharing common interests are our unique strengths. We need to make full use of these strengths, stay committed to openness and cooperation, and pursue our shared goal of development and rejuvenation. We need to continue to promote trade and investment liberalization and facilitation, and ensure secure and orderly flow of people, goods, capital, and data. We should create growth drivers that promote cooperation, such as the digital economy, green energy, and modern agriculture. Belt and Road cooperation is a major platform for promoting development for us all. We need to strengthen complementarity between the Belt and Road Initiative and the development strategies of SCO countries, and with regional cooperation initiatives such as the Eurasian Economic Union. We should keep industrial and supply chains functioning smoothly, promote economic integration and interconnected development of all countries, and deliver shared benefits to all. To facilitate post-COVID economic recovery in SCO countries, China will continue to share its market opportunities with other countries. In the next 5 years, we will work to achieve the goal of US $2.3 trillion in cumulative trade with you, our fellow SCO countries. And we will improve the structure and balance of China's trade with you. China will open a China SCO Business and Trade Institute to promote multilateral business and trade cooperation among SCO countries. Phase 1 of the renminbi 30 billion equivalent special lending facility set up by China in 2018 within the SCO framework will soon be completed, and China will then launch the second phase to promote Belt and Road cooperation. This lending facility is earmarked mainly for projects on modern connectivity, infrastructure development, and green low-carbon and sustainable development. Fourth, we need to draw on each other's strengths. The most solid foundation for the SCO's development lies in mutual learning among civilizations, and its greatest strength lies in people-to-people bonds. We need to encourage exchanges, dialogue, harmony, and coexistence between civilizations. We should launch more popular and practical projects in such areas as science and technology, education, culture, health, and poverty alleviation. We should fully tap into platforms including the Youth Exchange Camp, Women's Forum, Media Forum, and Forum on People-to-People Friendship, and give full rein to social organizations such as the Good Neighborliness, Friendship, and Cooperation Commission. With these efforts, we can build a bridge of mutual understanding and friendship between the peoples of the SCO countries. In the next 3 years, China will provide 1,000 training opportunities on poverty alleviation for other SCO countries, open 10 Luban workshops, and launch 30 cooperation projects within the framework of the Silk Road Community Building Initiative in areas such as health, poverty alleviation, culture, and education. Footnote: Luban, 507 to 444 BC, was a civil engineer and inventor in the spring and autumn period. End of footnote. This will help those countries in need build capacity and improve the lives of their people. China will host an SCO Youth Forum on Technology and Innovation next year to help unleash the creativity of young people in SCO countries. China proposes to establish an SCO alliance of traditional medicine industries to explore new ways of cooperation in this field. China welcomes the participation of all countries in the Beijing 2022 Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games. Together, we can deliver a streamlined, safe, and splendid Olympic Games. Fifth, we need to uphold equity and justice. The powerful may get the upper hand for the time being, but justice will ultimately prevail. Footnote: Feng Menglong, Romance of the States in Eastern Zhou. Feng Menglong, 1574 to 1646, was a writer and thinker of the Ming Dynasty. End of footnote. Acting from an assumed position of strength is not the way to handle international affairs. Hegemonic and domineering actions should be firmly rejected, as should the abuse of the weak by the strong. In handling international relations, we should abide by the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and follow the principles of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits. We must practice true multilateralism and oppose actions that use spurious rules as a pretext to undermine the international order and cause confrontation and division. We should boost mutually beneficial cooperation, remove barriers that impede trade, investment, and technological exchanges, and promote inclusive development that delivers benefits to all. Protect the Earth for sustainable development. Main part of the keynote speech at the Leader Summit of the 15th meeting of the Conference of the Parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity. October 12, 2021. All beings flourish when they live in harmony and receive nourishment from nature. Footnote: Xun Zi. This is a book written by Xun Kuang. Xun Kuang, circa 313 to 238 BC, also known as Xun Zi, was a philosopher, thinker, and educator in the Warring States period. End of footnote. Biodiversity fills the earth with vigor and vitality, and lays the foundation for human survival and development. Protecting biodiversity helps protect the earth, our common homeland, and contributes to humanity's sustainable development. The Kunming Conference on the theme of ecological civilization building a shared future for all life on Earth is of great significance. It will work for the conclusion of the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework and identify targets and pathways for global biodiversity protection in the future. In this context, the international community must increase cooperation to build consensus and pool strength to build a community of all life on Earth. Humanity and nature need to coexist in harmony. When we take care to protect nature, nature rewards us generously. When we exploit nature ruthlessly, it punishes us without mercy. We need to have a deep reverence for nature, respect nature's needs, follow nature's laws, and protect nature so as to build a homeland where humanity and nature coexist in harmony. Clear waters and green mountains are invaluable assets. A sound eco-environment is not just a natural asset, but also an economic asset, and has a critical impact on the potential and sustainability of economic and social development. We need to speed up efforts to foster a green approach to development and secure both economic growth and environmental protection so as to build a homeland of coordinated progress in the economy and the environment. The COVID-19 pandemic has cast a shadow over global development and compounded challenges to the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Faced with the dual tasks of economic recovery and eco-environmental protection, developing countries need all the more help and support. We need to strengthen solidarity to overcome difficulties and let people across countries benefit in a broadly inclusive and fair way from development outcomes and a sound eco-environment so as to build a homeland of common development of all countries. We are living in an era fraught with dangers and yet brimming with hope. As long as we press ahead and persevere, a bright future beckons. For the sake of our common future, we need to join hands and start a new journey of high-quality development for humanity. First, it is important to harmonize the relationship between humanity and nature through stronger eco-environmental protection. We need to solve the problems brought by industrial civilization, keep human activities within the carrying capacity of the eco-environment, and carry out holistic conservation and systematic governance of mountains, rivers, forests, farmlands, lakes, grasslands, and deserts. Second, it is important to promote global sustainable development by adopting a green approach to growth. We need to develop a green, low-carbon, and circular economy, translate eco-environmental strengths into development strengths, and bring out the enormous benefits that clear waters and green mountains can offer. We also need to step up international cooperation and share the fruits of green development among all countries. Third, it is important to promote social equity and justice with a focus on improving the people's well-being. We need to keep in mind the people's aspirations for a better life, pursue win-win results in environmental protection, economic development, job creation, poverty elimination, and other endeavors, and increase the sense of gain, fulfillment, and security of all peoples in all countries. Fourth, it is important to uphold a fair and equitable international governance system based on international law. We need to practice true multilateralism and respect and comply with international rules, which are not to be exploited or discarded at one's convenience. The new targets of environmental protection we must set to be ambitious on the one hand and pragmatic and balanced on the other, so as to make the global environmental governance system fairer and more equitable. China has made remarkable progress in ecological conservation and environmental protection. The recent northward travel and return of a herd of elephants in Yunnan province in southwest China is a vivid example of our endeavor and success in protecting wild animals. China will continue to advance eco-environmental protection, stay committed to the philosophy of innovative, coordinated, green, open, and shared development, and build a beautiful China. On this occasion, I wish to announce a new initiative from China to establish a Kunming Biodiversity Fund in support of biodiversity protection in developing countries, and we will take the lead by contributing renminbi 1.5 billion. China also welcomes and calls for contributions from other parties to the fund. To strengthen its biodiversity protection, China is making rapid progress in establishing a nature reserve system, mainly consisting of national parks. Over time, areas of the greatest importance to the natural ecosystems, with the most unique natural landscapes, with the most valuable natural heritage, and with the greatest biodiversity, will be included in the national parks system. China has officially designated its first group of national parks. They include the Three River Source National Park, the Giant Panda National Park, the Northeast China Tiger and Leopard National Park, the National Park of Hainan Tropical Rainforest, and the Wuishan National Park. The land area under protection extends to 230,000 square kilometers, and these parks are home to nearly 30% of the key terrestrial wildlife species found in China. In the meantime, acting on the principle of balancing in situ and ex situ conservation, China has started building a system of national botanical gardens in places such as Beijing and Guangzhou. To achieve peak carbon dioxide emissions and carbon neutrality, China will release action plans for peak carbon emissions in key areas and sectors, as well as a series of support measures, and will put in place a 1+N policy framework for achieving its carbon goals. China will continue to readjust its industrial structure and energy mix, vigorously develop renewable energy, and make faster progress in planning and developing large wind power and photovoltaic bases in sandy areas, rocky areas, and deserts. We are now making smooth progress on construction of the first phase of projects with an installed capacity of approximately 100,000 megawatts. If we humans do not fail nature, nature will not fail us. Eco-environmental protection represents the optimal path for human civilization. Let us come together to protect our ecosystems and the environment and shoulder our responsibility for future generations. Let us make a joint effort to build a community of all life on Earth and a clean, beautiful world for us all. Deliver a great future for China-ASEAN relations. Speech at the special summit to commemorate the 30th anniversary of China-ASEAN dialogue relations. November 22nd, 2021. Your Majesty Sultan Hassanal of Brunei Darussalam. Colleagues, It gives me great pleasure to meet you online to celebrate the 30th anniversary of China-ASEAN dialogue relations, review what we have accomplished together, summarize experience, and draw up a blueprint for the future. China-ASEAN dialogue relations have come a long way over the past 3 decades. During these 30 years, we have witnessed the advance of economic globalization and profound changes in the international landscape. During these 30 years, China and ASEAN have seized opportunities and achieved leapfrog development in our relationship. We have cast aside the shadow of the Cold War and ensured stability in our region. We have spearheaded economic integration in East Asia, promoted common development and prosperity, and delivered a better life to a population of over 2 billion people. We have embarked on a path of good neighborliness and win-win cooperation, taken strides towards a closer community of shared future, and made an important contribution to human progress. Today, we jointly declare the establishment of a China-ASEAN Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. This is a new milestone in our relations and will inject new impetus into our endeavors to promote peace, stability, prosperity, and development both in our region and globally. Colleagues, we owe gains in China-ASEAN cooperation over the past 30 years to our unique geographical proximity and cultural affinity, to the fact that we have actively embraced the trend of our times and made the right historic choices. First, we respect each other, and we have observed the basic norms governing international relations. We people in the East believe in not doing to others what we would not have done to ourselves. Footnote: The Analects of Confucius, Lun Yu. This is one of the Confucian classics compiled by the disciples of Confucius. It records the words and deeds of Confucius and also comprises dialogues between Confucius and his disciples. Confucius, 551 to 479 BC, also known as Kong Qiu or Zhong Ni, was a philosopher, educator, and statesman in the Spring and Autumn period, and the founder of Confucianism. End of footnote. Equality and harmonious coexistence are values that we share. We were the first to put forward the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence and the Bandung spirit. Footnote: Embodying unity, friendship, and cooperation, this spirit was formed through the Bandung Conference in Indonesia in April 1955, attended by representatives from 29 Asian and African countries and regions. End of footnote. China was the first among ASEAN's dialogue partners to join the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in Southeast Asia. We accommodate each other's major concerns and respect each other's choice of development paths. We have increased understanding and trust through sincere dialogue, and properly handled disagreements and problems by seeking common ground while shelving differences, thus upholding and promoting Asian values. Second, we have promoted cooperation to deliver win-win outcomes as we pursue peaceful development. China and ASEAN countries have similar historical experiences and share the same goals of securing stability for our countries and happiness for our peoples. We are firm in maintaining regional peace and stability. We have stayed focused on development, taken the lead in establishing free trade areas, promoted high-quality belt and road cooperation, and concluded and signed the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP. We have thus promoted integrated development of the region and the well-being of our peoples. Third, we have reached out to help each other in accordance with the principle of amity, sincerity, mutual benefit, and inclusiveness. China and ASEAN are neighbors, and mutual assistance is our shared tradition. China and Brunei both have proverbs that express the idea of sharing bliss and misfortune together. Our exchanges are as frequent as those between relatives. We value friendship and credibility. We rejoice together in good times and help each other out in hard times. We have stood with each other through the Asian financial crisis, international financial crisis, COVID-19, and other challenges, thus forging a stronger sense of a community of shared future. Fourth, we are committed to inclusiveness, mutual learning, and open regionalism. China and ASEAN have diverse ethnic groups, cultures, and religions. Respect for diversity and mutual accommodation are in our blood. Drawing inspiration from the East Asian civilization, we have steered regional economic integration with an open mind, advanced ASEAN-led regional cooperation through consultation on an equal footing, and forged friendship that is open and non-exclusive in accordance with the principles of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits. The valuable experience we have gained over the past 30 years is the shared asset of China and ASEAN. It has laid the foundation and provided the guidelines for forging our comprehensive strategic partnership. We should doubly cherish, retain, and continue to enrich and develop this experience as we go forward. Colleagues, as a Chinese proverb goes, just as distance tests a horse's strength, time reveals a person's sincerity. China has been and will remain a good neighbor, good friend, and good partner of ASEAN. I wish to reaffirm that ASEAN will always be a high priority in China's neighborhood diplomacy. China will continue to support ASEAN unity, the ASEAN community, and ASEAN centrality in the regional architecture. And it will continue to support ASEAN in playing a bigger role both in our region and internationally. Not long ago, the Communist Party of China convened the 6th plenary session of its 19th Central Committee, during which it conducted a comprehensive review of its major achievements and experience over the century. Full of confidence, we Chinese are marching forward on the new journey towards a modern, socialist country in all respects. China's development will provide more opportunities for and a strong boost to both our region and the wider world. China is ready to work with ASEAN to navigate the global environment, remove interference, share opportunities, and promote common prosperity. We will strengthen our comprehensive strategic partnership and make new strides towards a closer China-ASEAN community of shared future. Here, I call for 5 steps to deliver a great future for China-ASEAN relations. First, we should build a peaceful home together. Without peace, nothing is possible. Maintaining peace is our greatest common interest and the most cherished aspiration of people of all countries. We need to serve as the builders and guardians of peace in the region. We need to pursue dialogue instead of confrontation, build partnerships instead of alliances, and make a concerted effort to address the various negative factors that might threaten or undermine peace. We need to practice true multilateralism and act on the principle that international and regional affairs be handled through discussion among us all. China opposes hegemony and power politics. It pursues long-term and friendly coexistence with its neighbors and plays its part in the common efforts to secure lasting peace in our region. China will never seek hegemony. Still less will it abuse smaller countries. It supports ASEAN in its efforts to build a nuclear weapon-free zone, and is prepared to sign the protocol to the Treaty on the Southeast Asian Nuclear Weapon-Free Zone at an early date. Second, we should build a safe and secure home together. Once again, the COVID-19 pandemic has shown that no place on Earth is an insulated island enjoying absolute security, and that only security for all can truly ensure security. China is ready to work with ASEAN countries to build a health shield for the region. Under this initiative, China will donate an additional 150 million doses of COVID vaccines to ASEAN countries to raise their vaccination rates. It will contribute an additional US $5 million to the COVID-19 ASEAN Response Fund, step up joint vaccine production and technology transfer, and collaborate with ASEAN on research and development of essential medicines so as to help ASEAN increase its self-reliance. It will support ASEAN in strengthening community-level public health systems and training competent personnel to increase its capacity to respond to major public health emergencies. In addition to COVID-19, our region faces various traditional and non-traditional security challenges. In addressing these challenges, it is important for us to pursue common, comprehensive, cooperative, and sustainable security and expand cooperation in areas such as defense, counterterrorism, joint maritime search, rescue, and exercise, countering transnational crime, and disaster management. We should jointly safeguard stability in the South China Sea and make it a sea of peace, friendship, and cooperation. Third, we should build a home of prosperity together. I recently proposed the Global Development Initiative, which is a call for the international community to jointly meet challenges, promote global economic recovery, and accelerate implementation of the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. This initiative is well aligned with ASEAN Community Vision 2025, and it can contribute to the efforts of ASEAN countries to meet their development needs. China is ready to provide ASEAN with another US $1.5 billion of development assistance in the next 3 years to support their fight against COVID-19 and the region's economic recovery. China is also ready to engage in international development cooperation with ASEAN and launch negotiations on an agreement in this area. We support the establishment of a China-ASEAN Knowledge Network for Development. China will strengthen exchanges and cooperation with ASEAN on poverty reduction to promote balanced and inclusive development. We need to leverage the role of the RCEP, begin work to upgrade the China-ASEAN Free Trade Area at an early date, and promote trade and investment liberalization and facilitation. We need to expand cooperation in new areas like the digital and green economy and build joint demonstration zones on innovative economic development. China has a vast domestic market, and this market will remain open to ASEAN countries. It is ready to import more quality products from ASEAN countries, including buying up to US $150 billion worth of agricultural products from ASEAN in the next 5 years. We will promote high-quality Belt and Road cooperation with ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific. China will continue to develop demonstration zones for high-quality Belt and Road international cooperation in industrial capacity and welcomes ASEAN countries' participation in building a new international land-sea trade corridor. China will launch the China-ASEAN Science, Technology, and Innovation Enhancing Program, provide 1,000 items of advanced and applicable technology to ASEAN, and support 300 young scientists from ASEAN to come to China for exchanges in the next 5 years. We propose a China-ASEAN digital governance dialogue to expand innovative application of digital technology. Fourth, we should build a beautiful home together. Humanity can only enjoy sustainable development if we work together in harmony with nature. China is ready to open a dialogue with ASEAN on climate response, increase policy communication and experience sharing, and synergize our plans for sustainable development. We can work together on regional energy transition, discuss the establishment of a China-ASEAN Clean Energy Cooperation Center, and increase technology sharing in renewable energies. We need to intensify cooperation on green finance and investment to support regional low-carbon and sustainable development. China is ready to launch the action plan on China-ASEAN green agriculture to make our country's agricultural sector more resilient and sustainable. We can also energize the China-ASEAN countries' Joint Research and Development Center of Marine Science and Technology, build up the partnership on blue economy, and promote sustainable marine development. Fifth, we should build a home of goodwill together. We should advocate peace, development, equity, justice, democracy, and freedom, which are the common values of humanity. Increase exchanges and mutual learning between civilizations and fully leverage our region's unique strength of cultural diversity. We should consider an orderly resumptions of flows of people in the post-COVID-19 era and continue to promote exchanges in areas such as culture, tourism, think tanks, the media, and women's issues to expand mutual understanding and friendship and form one big family between our peoples. The young people represent the future of both China and ASEAN. China will expand cooperation with ASEAN in vocational education and mutual recognition of diplomas, provide more China-ASEAN young leaders scholarship opportunities, and organize events like youth camps. Next year, China will host both the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics and Paralympics and the Hangzhou Asian Games. which will offer good opportunities for further sports exchanges and cooperation between China and ASEAN countries. Colleagues, as an ancient Chinese statesman observed, designs for justice prevail, and actions to benefit the people succeed. Footnote: Annals of Master Yan, Yanzi Chunqiu. This is a book that records the words and deeds of Yan Ying. Yan Ying, unknown to 500 BC, also known as Yanzi, was a statesman of the state of Qi during the spring and autumn period. End of footnote. Let us keep in mind our people's desire for a better life, and shoulder the mission of our times to safeguard peace and promote development. Let us join hands in building on what we have achieved, work towards a closer China-ASEAN community of shared future, and deliver greater prosperity to both our region and the wider world. Promote friendly cooperation between China and Africa. Main part of the keynote speech at the opening ceremony of the 8th Ministerial Conference of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, November 29th, 2021. This year marks the 65th anniversary of the start of diplomatic relations between China and African countries. Over the past 65 years, China and Africa have forged unbreakable bonds in our struggle against imperialism and colonialism, and embarked on a distinctive path of cooperation in our journey towards development and revitalization. Together, we have written a splendid chapter of mutual assistance in a world of complexity and change, and set a shining example for building a new model of international relations. Why do China and Africa have such a close relationship and such a deep bond of friendship? The key lies in an everlasting spirit of China-Africa friendship and cooperation forged between the two sides, characterized by sincere friendship and equality, mutual benefit and common development, fairness and justice, openness and inclusiveness, and progress with the times. This truly captures the story of China and Africa working together in good times and hardship over the past decades, and provides a source of strength for the continuous growth of friendly China-Africa relations. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the restoration of China's lawful seat in the United Nations. Here, let me express sincere appreciation to the many African friends who supported China back then. Let me also make it clear that China will never forget the profound friendship of African countries and will remain guided by the principles of sincerity, amity, good faith, real results, and pursuing the greater good and shared interests. China will work together with African friends to carry forward the spirit of China-Africa friendship and cooperation from generation to generation. At the 2018 Beijing Summit of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, I propose that we build an even stronger China-Africa community of shared future. The proposal was unanimously endorsed by African leaders. Over the past 3 years and more, China and Africa have worked together to fully implement the 8 major initiatives. Footnote: this refers to industrial development, infrastructure connectivity, trade facilitation, green development, capacity building, healthcare, cultural and people-to-people exchanges, and peace and security. End of footnote. And other outcomes of the Beijing Summit, and completed a large number of priority cooperation projects. China-Africa trade and China's investment in Africa have seen a steady rise. Almost all African members of FOCAC have joined the great family of Belt and Road cooperation. All of this has added strong momentum to the China-Africa Comprehensive Strategic and Cooperative Partnership. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. As we stand at the historic starting point of building a China-Africa community of shared future in the new era, I wish to make the following 4 proposals. First, fighting COVID-19 with solidarity. We need to put people and lives first and be guided by science. We should be ready to waive intellectual property rights on COVID-19 vaccines and ensure that vaccines are accessible and affordable in Africa to bridge the immunization gap. Second, expanding practical cooperation. We need to open up new prospects for China-Africa cooperation, expand trade and investment, share experience on poverty reduction and elimination, strengthen cooperation on the digital economy, and promote entrepreneurship by young Africans and the development of small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs. At the UN General Assembly this year, I proposed the Global Development Initiative, which shares similar goals with the African Union's Agenda 2036 and the UN's 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We welcome the active support of African countries and their participation. Third, promoting green development. In the face of climate change, a major challenge to all of humanity, we need to advocate green and low-carbon development, actively promote solar, wind, and other sources of renewable energy, work for effective implementation of the Paris Agreement on climate change, and continue to strengthen our capacity for sustainable development. Fourth, upholding equity and justice. The world needs true multilateralism. Peace and development, equity and justice, democracy and freedom are common values of humanity and represent the abiding aspirations of both China and Africa. We both advocate a development path suited to our national conditions and are both committed to safeguarding the rights and interests of developing countries. We both oppose intervention in domestic affairs, racial discrimination, and unilateral sanctions. We need to take an unequivocal stance on the just propositions of developing countries and translate our common aspirations and interests into joint action. In the run-up to this conference, our two sides have prepared the China-Africa Cooperation Vision 2035. Under the first 3-year plan of the vision, China will work closely with African countries to implement 9 programs. First, the Medical and Health Program. To help the African Union, AU, achieve its goal of vaccinating 60% of the African population by 2020, I announce that China will provide another 1 billion doses of vaccine to Africa. Of these, 600 million doses will be donated, and 400 million doses will be jointly manufactured by Chinese and African enterprises. In addition, China will undertake 10 medical and health projects for African countries and send 1,500 medical personnel and public health experts to Africa. Second, the Poverty Reduction and Agricultural Development Program. China will undertake 10 poverty reduction and agricultural projects and send 500 agricultural experts to Africa. China will set up a number of China-Africa centers for modern agro-technology exchanges, demonstration and training in China, encourage Chinese institutions and companies to build demonstration villages for China-Africa cooperation on agricultural development and poverty reduction in Africa, and support the alliance of Chinese business in Africa for social responsibilities in launching the initiative of 100 companies in 1,000 villages. Third, the Trade Promotion Program. China will open up fast-track channels for African agricultural exports to China, speed up the inspection and quarantine procedures, and further increase the scope of products enjoying zero tariff treatment for the least developed countries, LDCs, who have diplomatic relations with China. In a bid to reach U.S. $300 billion in total imports from Africa in the next 3 years, China will provide U.S. $10 billion of trade finance to support African exports and to build in China a pioneering zone for in-depth China-Africa trade and economic cooperation and a China-Africa industrial park for Belt and Road cooperation. China will undertake 10 connectivity projects for Africa, form an expert group on economic cooperation with the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFC, FTA, and give continued support to the development of the AFC-FTA. Fourth, the Investment Promotion Program. China will encourage its businesses to invest no less than U.S. $10 billion in Africa in the next 3 years, and will establish a platform for China-Africa private investment promotion. China will undertake 10 industrialization and employment promotion projects for Africa, provide credit facilities of U.S. $10 billion to African financial institutions, support the development of African SMEs on a priority basis, and establish a China-Africa cross-border renminbi service center. China will exempt African LDCs from debt incurred in the form of interest-free Chinese government loans due by the end of 2021. China is ready to channel to African countries US $10 billion from its share of the International Monetary Fund's new allocation of special drawing rights. Fifth, the Digital Innovation Program. China will undertake 10 digital economy projects for Africa, set up centers for China-Africa cooperation on satellite remote sensing applications, and support the development of China-Africa joint laboratories, partner institutes, and scientific and technological innovation and cooperation bases. China will work with African countries to expand Silk Road e-commerce cooperation, hold online shopping festivals presenting quality African products and undertaking tourism e-commerce promotion activities, and launch a campaign to market 100 African stores and 1,000 African products on e-commerce platforms. Sixth, the Green Development Program. China will undertake 10 green development, environmental protection, and climate action projects for Africa, support the development of the Great Green Wall, and build centers of excellence on low-carbon development and climate change adaptation in Africa. Seventh, the Capacity Building Program. China will help build or upgrade 10 schools in Africa and invite 10,000 high-level African professionals to seminars and workshops. We will implement Future of Africa, a project for China-Africa cooperation on vocational education, and start an employment through training initiative for African students in China. China will continue to work with African countries to set up Luban workshops and encourage Chinese companies in Africa to create at least 800,000 local jobs. Eighth, the Cultural and People-to-People Exchange Program. All African countries which have diplomatic ties with China are encouraged to become destinations for Chinese tourist groups. We will hold African film festivals in China and Chinese film festivals in Africa, as well as a China-Africa Youth Services Forum and a China-Africa Women's Forum. Ninth, the Peace and Security Program. China will undertake 10 peace and security projects for Africa. We will continue to deliver military assistance to the AU, support African countries' efforts to independently maintain regional security and fight terrorism, and conduct joint exercises and on-site training between Chinese and African peacekeeping troops and cooperation on small arms and light weapons control. Senegal's first president, Leopold Sédar Senghor, once wrote, "Let us answer present at the rebirth of the world." Footnote, Leopold Sédar Senghor, Prayer to the Masks. End of footnote. I am convinced that the concerted efforts of China and Africa will make this FOCAC conference a full success, one that pools the might of the 2.7 billion Chinese and Africans and guides us towards a high-level China-Africa community of shared future. Usher in a new era for China-CELAC relations. Main points of the speech via video link at the third ministerial meeting of the Forum of China and the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States. December 3rd, 2021. During the 7 years since 2014, when the Forum of China and the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, was established, our two sides have stayed true to its founding mission of strengthening solidarity, improving policy coordination, and advancing South-South cooperation. We have turned the forum into a mutually beneficial platform and brought China-CELAC relations into a new era of equality, mutual benefit, innovation, and openness, one that will deliver real benefits to our peoples. The world now finds itself in a new period of turbulence. Both China and CELAC are faced with a common challenge, promoting post-pandemic recovery and working for a better life for the people. We welcome an active CELAC participation in the Global Development Initiative. I hope China and CELAC will work together to overcome difficulties, create opportunities, and build a global community of shared development. History tells us that peaceful development, fairness and justice, and win-win cooperation are the right way forward for humanity. As developing countries, China and CELAC members are partners in all-round cooperation based on equality, mutual benefit, and shared development. Our shared dream of maintaining independence, pursuing development, and achieving revitalization has brought us together. Let us draw up a blueprint for growing China-CELAC relations, add momentum to our cooperation, and make a new contribution to the well-being of our peoples and the cause of human progress. Maintain world peace and stability. Part of the keynote speech at the opening ceremony of the Boao Forum for Asia Annual Conference 2022, April 21st, 2022. Stability brings a country prosperity, while instability may well plunge it into poverty. Footnote, Guangzi. Security underpins development. Humanity is a community of indivisible security. A Cold War mindset can only disrupt the global peace framework. Hegemonism and power politics can only endanger world peace, and confrontation between blocs can only exacerbate threats to security in the 21st century. All this has been proved time and again. To promote security for all the world, China proposes a global security initiative. We should stay committed to the vision of common, comprehensive, cooperative, and sustainable security and work together to maintain world peace and security. We should respect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all countries, oppose interference in internal affairs, and recognize the independent choice of development paths and social systems made by peoples of different countries. We should abide by the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, reject the Cold War mentality, and oppose unilateralism, group politics, and bloc rivalry. We should address the legitimate security concerns of all countries, uphold the principle of indivisible security, build a balanced, effective, and sustainable security architecture, and oppose any attempt by any country to ensure its own security at the expense of the security of others. We should resolve differences and disputes between countries through dialogue, consultation, and other peaceful means, support all efforts for peaceful settlement of crises, reject double standards, and oppose any abuse of unilateral sanctions and long-arm jurisdiction. We should maintain security in both traditional and non-traditional domains and jointly resolve regional disputes and global issues such as terrorism, climate change, cybersecurity, and biosecurity. End of section 18.